A report in the British daily The Guardian has claimed that unknown gunmen have carried out 20 killings in Pakistan since 2020. Quoting unnamed intelligence officials of India and Pakistan, the report says R&AW carried out the assassinations of people charged with serious and violent terror offences in India. Now, this report comes after Canada said that they had credible allegations that India was involved in the murder of dissident figure Hardeep Singh Nijjar, and the US asked India to investigate on the assassination attempt on Gurpatwant Singh Pannun. Now, Indian officials have called this media report false and malicious anti-India propaganda. So who are the unknown gunmen, and why are anti-Indian terrorists being killed in Pakistan? And will this make Pakistan finally accept that it's harboring anti-India terrorists? Joining me to discuss this Pakistan's true lies are Yashovardhan Azad, Dr. Ajay Sani, and my colleague Aditya Raj Kaul. Gentlemen, welcome to the News9 Plus show. Mr. Azad, I want to start by asking you, who are these masked men who are killing people in Pakistan? 20 killings in the last 2 or 3 years, all people wanted by India.
Well, we are not privy to the actual information as to who has done it, but of course it's a very happy and welcome news for us. Because all these terrorists or murderers were named for terrorist acts in India.
Yeah.
And somehow, I mean, justice is being delivered. It's a little ironical that the Western nations are questioning India for its rising muscle, because they are known to have done extrajudicial killings abroad.
Yes.
And America, of course, it officially by striking down with drones, whether in Afghanistan or Syria or other places like Iraq. I can also add another thing here, that some of these terrorists, of course, have outlived their use. Maybe some of them are being, obliterated by the ISI itself.
Right.
But it's a very interesting phenomena that the ISI does not know whether to make it public, admitting its failure, or to just keep quiet about it and carry on.
Right, absolutely. Dr. Sani, you've been quoted in this Guardian report where you've noted, of course, SATP tracks, it's the only database of its kind in South Asia. You noted the spike in killings in Pakistan in the last couple of years. Who do you think is behind this? And do you think that the Pakistan state, as Mr. Azad mentioned, is in a catch-22 situation here?
Who's behind this? We have absolutely no evidence in the public domain, which is what we are familiar with.
Yes.
So you can attribute it to whoever you like, depending on your ideological proclivities. You can either attribute it to rising Indian state, or you can attribute it. A number of killings have occurred of this nature where there is at least tentative attribution or acknowledgement that this was a gang killing in a gang war, or this was a killing in. And the numbers are much larger, by the way. It's already 22 of these specific ones. But there are another 8 or 10 killings where some attribution has been made, a couple of them to Sindhu Desh independence movements, some to gang wars. So as far as that is concerned, I think we have, in any case, including the Canada case, yet to see evidence.
Right.
Number two, as far as the Guardian story is concerned, I had only noticed that there has been a very dramatic escalation after 2023.
Right.
We had one incident in 2020, we had one incident in 2022.
Right.
After that, we've had at least 16 incidents in 2023. I say at least because there are other dubious incidents as well. And at least 4 already in 2020.
Right.
We are seeing 20 incidents in just these 2 years, one in 4 months, or less than 4, three odd months. So now, as far as even the American and the Canadian case is concerned, we are yet to see any evidence.
Right, absolutely.
Only the perpetrators have not been identified or caught.
Yes.
The United States has certain evidence. It is still to stand the scrutiny of the courts. The extradition they have sought has still not occurred.
Right.
So we don't know where that's going.
Yes.
But frankly, you must also understand that when the Guardian probably very rightly attributes its information to certain intelligence operatives currently in service, that may be the case. They may have done the due diligence. But just because claims are made
Yes.
by serving officers does not mean that those are not false claims. It is the
Right.
job of agencies to project a certain image.
Absolutely. It's a job of agencies to
So we
project
have no
certain
idea who's
realities.
done this.
We have no idea. You know, Aditya, the Mad magazine, which shut down in the US, many years back, they ran a series on, strange inventions. And one of those inventions was bladeless knives without handles. And this is what we were discussing when Canada said credible allegations.
Yeah.
So you think this is more bladeless knives without handles, as Dr. Sani mentioned, no evidence. And given the fact that there are 125 terror outfits in Pakistan, as per India's statements, who's to tell who's killing these guys? I mean, there must be at any given point of time at least 50 or 60 terrorist groups active shooting, and who's to identify who's killing whom?
You know, Sandeep, I went through this extensive report, or should we call it an essay?
Yes.
Because the one thing that I noticed during the course of reading this entire essay by 3 reporters in India and Pakistan was that there's not a shred of evidence. There's no witness that has been mentioned.
Yes.
There's no report that has been quoted. And there are no photographic evidences or any digital communication that they refer to. They only refer to their so-called sources in Indian intelligence and Pakistani intelligence. Now, who would verify that? I have done several such reports, but it is for the public to actually assume whether these are true or false. Secondly, what I will mention is that I was, in fact, the first journalist to cover the killing of Zahoor Mistry.
Yes, of course.
And I had spoken to both intelligence officials in India and Pakistan. We in fact made a documentary out of it.
You broke that story,
yeah,
I remember.
We had that documentary, Killing of an Hijacker.
Yes.
Now, one thing that you need to note, and I completely agree with Mr. Azad when he says that not some, but I would go on to extend say most of these terrorists have outlived their use. Because some have been given a different role. You know, Zahoor Mistry was a carpenter in Karachi.
They're all living in deep cover, as your
Similarly, there was
documentary
a terrorist from 1990s who was very active for 5 to 10 years, but now was a vice chancellor of a university. So similarly, there are several other examples where, and if you would ask me who's behind this, I certainly won't believe that this is R&AW, but I would say this is ISI, because this is Pakistan who actually wants to kill and wants to show to the West, particularly the US, that they are acting against terror. And especially at a time when there has been economic pressure on them, there's pressure from US, and of course there's pressure on the other side of the Afghan Taliban and the TTP. They want to be seen as acting against terror to actually get in more funds, more defense equipment, and more sympathy wave from US and other countries.
Is that a credible line of thinking, Mr. Azad, the fact that the ISI is actually tying up loose ends, as Aditya said, that they are getting rid of these guys who outlived their utility?
Well, I can say this much, that ISI is a real quandary right now.
Yes.
Serious situation is that it's well known that these people are getting hit, and ISI does not know whether to acknowledge it publicly or not, or to blame India for its rising clout in being able to hit outside. You know, the other thing I want to comment on is the death of Nijjar. And in one of the papers, whether it was the Guardian or the Washington Post itself, they had mentioned what a shoddy investigation has been done in the case of Nijjar. That in fact, the people around that area also were not even questioned. To make allegations even without a proper investigation. And as an ex-cop, I can tell you that this kind of a hit would require very detailed, in-depth kind of investigation. And then only you get some kind of credible leads, I'm saying, leads, not accusations. So in that respect, I would say that suppose, we are not privy to any official information, but if this has happened, I mean, I would welcome it. If the murderers of a particular country who commit murders outside are getting hit inside their own country, there couldn't be better justice than this. And I would certainly welcome it. As far as the ISI is concerned, I'm sure the ISI is trying to now prepare some kind of, with this new government coming in, is trying to prepare some kind of a reaction as to what is going to do further on the borders. And mind you, terrorists have a very short shelf life. The same terrorists cannot be used for on and on. Therefore, yes, some of their shelf lives are over. They had to be, gotten out of the system, and the new ones have to be prepared. So it's a kind of a, regenerating. They will be back at their task very soon.
Right, absolutely. And Dr. Sani, this point about Pakistan making these claims, it's been making it at the highest levels at the UN. It's been raising it very recently. The Pakistan foreign minister made precisely these claims in January to say that Indian agents are behind these killings. Do you see this as Pakistan having a credibility problem when it comes to making such sensational claims, that no one really believes them anymore, given the kind of double games that they've been playing over the years, hunting with the hares and, running with the hounds?
Yeah, Pakistan has a very, very serious credibility problem across the board. Please understand that they have historically had this tendency to go into retaliatory accusations.
Yes.
If India said Pakistan is engaged in terrorism on Indian soil, and there was overwhelming evidence, international evidence of such activities, they immediately come back and say, no, but India is also involved in terrorist activities.
Yes, whataboutery.
Pakistan.
Yes.
Whataboutery. So now, obviously, after the Nijjar allegations at the highest level by Canada, by the Prime Minister coming out in Parliament over there, they will have seen this as an opportunity.
Right.
They will they will exploit it to the hilt.
Yes.
Also, you've had these trends, and I'd like to add to something that Mr. Azad also said, and name one leader of worth.
Right.
I mean, if you are sitting here at the R&AW planning assassinations, would this third line, or superannuated terrorist be your primary target?
Right, right.
If you're going to hit someone, you would obviously hit someone who was seen as an active mobilizer,
yes,
a current terrorist leader. If you're going to take the, shall we say, global sort of ire that you are
right,
potentially to attract, you would certainly see that the cost in terms of credibility, in terms of
yes,
global perception, would be in some way compensated by the nature of the target.
Yes.
Why are you going across? Okay, one name which is prominent, Paramjit Singh Panjwar, comes up.
Yeah.
Paramjit Singh Panjwar has been who was active in the 90s, early 90s, 80s, early 90s. Why would you expend major resources, and this cannot be done by just bribing some petty lower level criminal. This will have to be done through networks.
Yes.
So why would you target someone who is no longer a significant threat? Also, I'd like to add one small thing. Apart from the fact that the ISI could have an interest in sort of culling these individuals now,
yes,
you must also understand that most of these individuals are involved in a range of domestic activities.
Absolutely.
Including gun running, narcotics smuggling, elements of that nature. Now, these activities automatically create gang rivalries, groupings, and there would be obvious possibilities of these activities resulting in these hits across groups. None of this, as yet, says that we can definitely point to India. The other very, very crucial thing is, we are talking about at least 22 and up to 28, 29 such cases, including the dubious cases. When we say that the Indian agency is involved, are we saying they are involved in one of these 28, 29 cases? Or in 28, 29 of these cases? What is the allegation? And in hard terms, that two of these entire group of killings have occurred with some kind of Indian involvement, or that a majority of these are by the Indian agencies, or that all of these are by the Indian agencies. This is if you are to approach this, and I have no problem of this being approached as a line of investigation.
Yes.
If my enemy has died, should be questioned. But to go beyond this on the basis of no evidence and on the basis of statements by Indian intelligence, allegedly, attributed to Indian intelligence or to Pakistani intelligence, both groups will be speaking from their own perceived current interests.
Absolutely. In fact, Aditya, this point about the evidence, that the fact that these reports have come out without a shred of evidence, and whatever has been presented in the past by Pakistan, little evidence that the foreign minister of Pakistan presented has been rubbished by India. But the government has, of course, denied that any of this has happened. They've said it is not government policy. But the timing of these revelations or so-called accusations by the Guardian, you think the government would actually take it up politically? It gives the government a plank. Ghar mein ghus ke mara hai. You think you see any of that happening?
On a lighter note, this couldn't have come at a better time for the Modi government, because yesterday I was browsing through social media, and the only thing that the BJP supporters or the right wing was really doing was celebrating, was saying that this actually vindicates our stand of going after terrorists and actually
wherever they be, the Israel model.
Wherever they be, the Israel model, and whatever US has been claiming all these years. They went into Abbottabad and killed Osama bin Laden. So we have done not 1 but 20. That's what the claim is. So I think Modi government or their supporters will go door to door, will campaign for this. And this Guardian article is already in several video publicity materials, etc. in the last 24 hours, claiming that this is what Modi government stands for. So politically, this is going to help the government. Of course, there is my personal belief is that this article is from an intelligence agency. I won't name the country. It's anybody's guess. Comes at a time when this Five Eyes Alliance has been going after India on the Nijjar case, and of course on the Pannun case as well from the United States. So one can imagine which global intelligence agency is behind this article, because it's a very smartly crafted little article without a shred of evidence, but creates another level of narrative against India.
Absolutely, another level of narrative against India. And while we've denied any such involvement or the fact that it's not state policy, Mr. Azad, we know which country has made it its state policy to kill people, individuals, in wherever they may be in the world. And 5,000 militants have been killed. Al-Qaeda, Taliban, TTP, by the United States in drone strikes from 2004 for about 15 years since then. Is there a kind of a double standards when it comes to terrorists who threaten US interests vis-a-vis terrorists who threaten Indian interests? And we've seen this dichotomy in the 26/11 investigation as well, where none other than the NSA at that time, Mr. Narayanan, said that the US sat on intelligence about the attacks. While they gave us some alerts, they didn't give us the whole picture. Do you see these double standards at play over here?
Yes, I said right in the beginning that the Western nations who are responsible for so many extrajudicial killings outside the country are the ones who question, somebody like India, basically because of its rising clout. But, I think, Sandeep, we should not, go gung-ho about the killings in Pakistan. We should just take it as another, a matter of another day in office. Because these have become very small things for us. PAK is no longer our threat.
Absolutely.
Either is the Khalistani threat of any consequence. Yes, let them fight over Gurdwaras in Canada and all these places. It doesn't matter. Also, Sandeep, which is important is, mind you, this incident about Pannun will never make any dent in our relations with the US. Because, US has had a lot of interest in India, and right now we have a strategic partnership because we have a common enemy. So, in terms of the state policy, in terms of strategic interests, they ride over these small issues.
Absolutely.
So I would say, yes, US always says my terrorist is real terrorist, and your terrorist, there could be problems with social polity and things like that. So anyway, that side, I think already it's giving a very good impression what is happening in Pakistan, though they are not of much interest. But of course, if you want to hit like US, then I would expect somebody like Dawood Ibrahim to hit. That would be a real hit, I would say.
Absolutely. Dawood Ibrahim there. And very well summed up, Mr. Azad, the fact that we shouldn't take, too much of mind space with these allegations. The fact that this seems to be a retread of 90s and early 2000s film scripts. But Dr. Sani, closing comments here. Do you think that any of this is going to make any difference to our Pakistan policy or our relations with the United States, with all that's going on, that Aditya mentioned, Mr. Azad mentioned, Pannun, all of these little triggers, the killing of Nijjar, Pannun, these so-called hits by masked men in Pakistan? Or is this relationship absolutely on course and we have to, go with the flow?
As far as Pakistan is concerned, I think we've got a history of extreme violations by them for decades.
Yes.
And we have at least a certain number of our actions against them, which have made no real difference to the trajectory.
Right.
The trajectory is based on an enduring intent on the part of Pakistan and a shift in adaptive strategies on the part of India. And that will continue. As far as America is concerned, I agree with Mr. Azad that our relationship is at this juncture very deep, and there are shared strategic objectives and interests, which will not allow an incident or an allegation of this nature, the Pannu allegation, to make a very significant difference. Canada, however, is a very different case. We have seen under Trudeau a very dramatic shift in relationship, a very dramatic undermining, despite some rollback by Canada. I don't think that is an enduring trend. It is presumably after Trudeau ends his tenure, which should not be very long in the future. Relationships will be restored to status quo ante. So right. I don't think any of these relationships is going to have a change at a strategic level.
Right.
As a result.
None of these relationships are going to strain.
Or perceptions.
Yes. Closing comments, Aditya, on this?
Well, I completely agree with Mr. Sahani, his analysis that, the status quo in the relationship or the relationship between India and US will remain so, and Pakistan, we know how it has happened. The problem here is that the West, particularly the US, wants India and the global South to see democracy, counter-terrorism, terrorism from their own prism.
Right.
And the problem begins when India stands up.
Yes.
I'm not calling them a bully, like China, but it has been so, how the US sees the world democracy is something that the global South should abide by.
Right.
Now, when India rises and challenges this myth, challenges and says that there needs to be a global consensus, we need to be heard. Our counter-terrorism is as important as yours. That's where the problem begins, and I'm sure that India is not going to look back now and really march ahead. Yeah, India is not going to look back now despite all these allegations. And thank you very much, Mr. Azad, Dr. Sani and my colleague Aditya, for talking about Pakistan's True Lies, a script that's playing out over the last couple of months and has gotten new impetus from the Guardian news report denied by the government of India. Thanks for watching.
Streaming on News9 plus news is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.